Hello, and welcome to another Lincoln property blog brought to you by Ben from Walters of Lincolnshire. Today, we look at pricing your property. A complete guide for Lincoln. Getting your property valuation right in Lincoln can feel a bit daunting. But don't worry, we've got you covered. Whether you're selling your home, refinancing a mortgage, or simply curious about your property's worth, a professional valuation is essential. Understanding how a property valuation works gives you confidence in your decision-making. We'd love to help you navigate this process with clarity and confidence. Property valuations in Lincoln vary significantly based on location, property type, and local market conditions as of May 2026. From our historic Cathedral Quarter to the vibrant areas around the University of Lincoln, each neighbourhood has its own unique characteristics that influence value. The East Midlands property market continues to show steady demand driven by university accommodation needs, professional relocations, and first-time buyers looking for their next home. In this guide, we'll walk you through everything you need to know about pricing your property accurately. We'll cover the methods professionals use, explain the key factors that affect your valuation, and share some practical insights specific to our wonderful Lincoln market. By the end, you'll understand exactly why your property is worth what it's worth. Key points. Understanding property valuation methods. Here's what you need to know. There's no single magic number for a property's valuation. Instead, professionals use multiple approaches to establish realistic pricing for your property. Let's break down the main methods used in Lincoln's current market. Comparable market analysis. This is the most common method used by Lincoln estate agents. A comparable market analysis assesses similar recently sold properties in your area to establish realistic pricing. We look at properties that have recently sold, ideally within the last 3 months, that are similar to yours in terms of size, condition, location, and property type. Properties in Lincoln's uphill conservation areas, for example, command very different rates than suburban areas like Bracebridge or South Lincoln. The more comparable properties we can find, the more accurate your valuation becomes. At Walters, we then pull all this data into a price per square metre figure. This is then adjusted for your specific home to take account of if it requires or already has new kitchens, bathrooms, solar panels, air source heat pumps, as just some examples. If an agent is not sharing these calculations at a market appraisal meeting, they have not done their proper due diligence. The current market conditions in May 2026 reflect these regional East Midlands trends with varying appreciation rates across different property types. Properties near the University of Lincoln campus behave differently from residential areas, and this matters when setting your asking price. Mortgage valuation. If you're buying with a mortgage, your lender will require a professional mortgage valuation. This is different from a sales valuation. It's specifically designed to ensure your property serves as adequate security for the loan. Lenders have their own requirements and may value properties differently than the open market would. It's important to understand this distinction, as a mortgage valuation might come in lower than your hoped-for sale price. Open market valuation. This is an independent assessment of what your property would achieve if sold on the open market without time pressure. It's the most realistic picture of actual market value. Professional valuers consider everything: the property condition, recent comparable sales, market demand, and the current economic climate in Lincoln. Key factors affecting your Lincoln property's value. Location really is everything in property valuation. Here are the 7 factors that genuinely influence what your Lincoln home is worth. 1. Neighbourhood and postcode. Properties in Lincoln's historic core, LN1 area, often command premiums for character and location, while suburban developments in LN2, LN3 and beyond offer different value propositions. Research comparable properties in your specific neighbourhood. Uphill properties differ significantly from other areas. 2. Property type and age. A Victorian terraced property near the cathedral will have different value drivers than a modern apartment near the university. Period features attract certain buyers and command premiums, but may also require significant maintenance investments. 3. Condition and maintenance. Be realistic about necessary repairs or updates. Professional surveyors identify items that impact valuation. A property requiring £15,000 in roof repairs will be valued lower than identical properties in good condition. This is where a detailed property survey becomes invaluable. 4. University impact. If you're in an area with rental demand from University of Lincoln students or staff, this affects your valuation significantly. Consider the impact on rental demand if you're pricing for investment purposes. Buy-to-let valuations in these areas now include yield calculations, the annual rental income as a percentage of property value. 5. Local developments and regeneration. Factor in recent local developments, transport improvements, and planned regeneration projects affecting area desirability. The regeneration of Lincoln's waterfront and Brayford Pool area, for instance, creates localised valuation increases in nearby properties. 6. Conservation status and restrictions. Listed building status or conservation area designation in Lincoln's historic core affects both value and renovation requirements. Monitor local authority planning applications and conservation area restrictions, which may affect property value. Sometimes these add character value, sometimes they limit what you can do with your property. 7. Energy performance certificate rating. Energy-efficient properties increasingly command premiums in the May 2026 market. Your EPC rating influences buyer perception and valuation. Properties with poor ratings may face longer marketing periods and lower offers. Understanding your valuation report. When you receive a professional valuation, it should detail exactly how the valuer arrived at their figure. A comprehensive valuation includes comparable sales data, adjustment factors, an explanation of any unique characteristics affecting price. Don't just accept a number, understand the reasoning behind it. Ask questions if anything seems unclear. The difference between asking price and realistic market value is crucial. Overpricing leads to extended time on market and often results in lower final sale prices anyway. The UK legal framework. It's worth understanding how UK regulations affect your property's value. Stamp duty land tax, SDLT, applies on purchases over £125,000 at standard rate, with higher rates for additional properties. This affects buyer affordability and can influence how aggressively people bid. Energy performance certificates are legally required and influence buyer perception. Leasehold versus freehold distinctions significantly impact valuation and mortgageability under current UK lending criteria. If you own a leasehold property with escalating service charges, this can genuinely affect buyer appeal and final selling price. Online tools versus professional valuations. You've probably seen online property valuation tools. They're everywhere. Here's our honest take. They provide useful starting benchmarks, but always obtain independent professional valuations rather than relying solely on online estimates, particularly in Lincoln's diverse market. The gap between online estimates and professional valuations is widening as of 2026. Online tools struggle with Lincoln's unique characteristics, the historic premium of cathedral quarter properties, the student housing nuances, the conversion of Victorian buildings with unique service charge arrangements. A professional valuer who knows Lincoln intimately will give you a more accurate picture. Local perspective. What's happening in Lincoln's market right now? As your local experts at Walters of Lincolnshire, we've got deep knowledge of what's really happening in our market. Lincoln market data shows property values influenced by proximity to the Cathedral Quarter and University of Lincoln campus. Current market conditions reflect genuine buyer demand in key Lincoln locations, with the market stabilising after earlier fluctuations. We're seeing something interesting across different areas. Properties with hybrid workspace capabilities are commanding premiums. Remote workers relocating from London are increasingly attracted to period features and character properties in Lincoln. This is changing buyer behaviour and valuations across all our neighbourhoods. The East Midlands region, including Lincoln, continues to attract buy-to-let investors seeking yield-bearing opportunities, which keeps demand steady in student-focused postcodes. Seasonal variations matter. If you're selling a property with student housing potential, timing absolutely matters. Seasonal variations are more pronounced in student housing areas. Valuations and pricing strategies should differ by academic calendar. Properties marketed in August during student accommodation season will attract different attention than those marketed in April. This means your valuation strategy should be dynamic, not static. Local knowledge makes a difference. Here's something we've noticed. Estate agents specialising in specific Lincoln neighbourhoods achieve better valuations than generalists. When we value a property, we're not just looking at sold data. We're considering local nuances that matter. We know which Bracebridge properties benefit from proximity to proposed transport improvements. We understand how flood risk mapping affects different postcodes. We know the true rental yields in specific areas around campus versus what generic calculators suggest. This local expertise genuinely affects how accurately we can value your property and how effectively we can market it. The Cathedral Quarter Premium. Properties in Lincoln's historic Cathedral Quarter command genuine premiums for their location and character. But there's a trade-off. Historic status works as both asset and liability. Yes, you get that character and location premium, but renovation can be complex and expensive. Victorian properties with historic features often require specialist approaches. Understanding this balance is crucial when setting your asking price. Sometimes the most authentic historic properties also require the most substantial investment. Transport and connectivity. Transportation accessibility premium is increasingly factored into valuations. Properties with good access to the A46, A57, and rail connections attract commuters willing to pay more. If your property has excellent connectivity to regional employment centres or transport hubs, this should be reflected in your valuation. Conversely, if access is challenging, valuers will account for this. Next steps. Getting your property valued. So what's the next move? First, understand the difference between the valuation you need. Are you selling? You'll want a sales valuation reflecting open market value. Refinancing? Your lender will arrange their valuation. Investing? An investment valuation considering rental yield might be most useful. Different purposes require slightly different approaches, and we can guide you through this. Don't underestimate the value of a professional property survey if you're about to sell. Understanding your property's condition before marketing prevents nasty surprises during buyer surveys. When buyers identify issues you haven't disclosed, negotiations quickly turn negative. Getting ahead of this with your own survey is genuinely smart. Review your valuation regularly. The market moves quickly. Review your property pricing quarterly during active marketing if your property isn't selling as expected. Your initial valuation might need adjustment as market conditions shift or comparable properties sell. This isn't failure, it's responding to reality. Flexibility in pricing often unlocks sales that stubborn asking prices prevent. Get professional guidance. We'd love to help you understand exactly what your Lincoln property is worth in today's market. We bring genuine local expertise, current market knowledge, and professional valuation standards to every property we assess. We're not just throwing numbers at you. We're explaining the reasoning, answering your questions, and helping you make informed decisions about your property. Get a free, no-obligation valuation from our local experts. Whether you're considering selling, curious about refinancing options, or evaluating your property as an investment, we'll provide a comprehensive, professional assessment with transparent explanation of how we arrived at our figure. We'll discuss comparable properties, local market conditions, and exactly what we think your property will achieve in today's market. Conclusion. Property valuation doesn't have to be mysterious or stressful. Understanding how your property's value is determined through comparable market analysis, professional assessment, and local market knowledge puts you in control of your property decisions. Whether you're selling, refinancing, or investing, accurate valuation is the foundation of smart property decisions. Lincoln's property market in May 2026 continues to show genuine buyer demand, particularly in well-located neighbourhoods with clear value propositions. Your job is ensuring your property is accurately priced to capture that demand. That's where professional local expertise makes all the difference. Here at Walters of Lincolnshire, we're ready to help you navigate this process with clarity, confidence, and genuine local knowledge. Get in touch today. We'd love to provide your free valuation and answer any questions you have about your property's worth.